Hello, this is The Ocean's Deep Woo, and I am the Ocean. And here we do the deepest of woo. And woo is what we do. That's all we do. All kinds of woo. Um, Everything from metaphysics, paranormal, spiritualism, um, strange conspiracies, and anything else kind of weird and unusual. Sometimes even philosophy. Tonight, we're going to be talking about death, and in particular, my death. And I have never told the full story of this before. Now I realize that we're kind of, things did not work out quite the way I expected. I had an entirely different idea in mind for what this was going to look like. But I'm sorry, it's going to look like this. I can't do very much about it. My phone did not charge, and I'm doing this on my phone. So, and we're doing this in it's kind of strange lighting. Sorry about that. Um, and I wanted to have a candle burning and everything and have you looking at that instead, and that's just not happening either. I had a bunch of stuff fall down in the room, in the front room where I usually do this, blocking my way, and I don't have time to pick it all up. So we're doing this. Like I said, plus my phone didn't entirely charge, so it has to be somewhere where I can plug it in. Um, I don't know whether it is me just kind of manifesting things to keep me from actually telling this story, because it's been quite a long time that I've been holding back all the details of this because it's very deep and there's a lot to it. So, hey, Crystal Shaman, how are you doing? And there's quite a lot to it. So, but I wanted to put it all down in some kind of recorded form. Maybe it would help somebody. Maybe it will help somebody. Maybe I thought, oh, and by the way, I'm going to put that there just in case somebody wants to do me the honor of giving my channel a tip here, because we don't sell you anything here, not at this point. Um, but we still need to pay for our storage and stuff and the StreamYard. So anyway, oh, I'm fine right now, except I have some strange. I have a few things going on, but nothing too weird. Crystal Shaman, I'm doing a lot better than uh, than a lot of folks I know right now, I guess. Uh, hey, Gemini Moon. Hi. So I'm going to do my usual blurb that I say in the beginning. Remember that this is just tips, tricks, and hacks for that massively multiplayer, total immersion, VR learning game matrix called Life on Planet Earth. It has absolutely nothing to do with real life, which takes place outside the matrix. Okay. Hey, Bomber. Here's my girl. Um, so basically, a lot of this there are some personal parts I'm going to have to leave out. Sorry about that, but I'll give you as much of it as is not too horribly personal. Uh, like I said, I hope that it helps people understand the process better so that you can understand what's actually going on when a person has it. Now, I'm not saying that my experiences were typical at all, but maybe some of you will be encountering these things. As a matter of fact, I know that my experiences were not really typical um, of everybody, not by a long shot. Neither in the lead up nor in what came after my death. But maybe informative, which is something we try to do here. So, well, okay, so let us uh, begin then. I think I've told you before a little bit about my background. I came in with a lot of gifts that I didn't know I had. I had no idea. Like many of us, um, I think we all have these gifts, but some of us, it hasn't quite been turned down yet. Or maybe it has been, maybe we come in with them already functioning. And not, as a matter of fact, I think probably most children come in with with a lot of them, or maybe all of them, functioning right from jump. Well, it wouldn't be all of them, but seems like when we're fresh, we have more contact with it than later on. So we have more contact with the other side, and we are, in a way, easier with it because we haven't been conditioned otherwise yet. And honestly, um, I'm not sure. Ooh, gotta take my hat off. I'm not really sure about when we come in, but I know how much of it, because some people say it's been turned off by our genetics. Um, I don't know about that. I just saw something that said, well, it's how they mix the genetics. They use the human part to turn it off. I'm not sure about that at all. We'll discuss that maybe another time, but I know that I came in with some of them working for whatever reason, as many people do. But I didn't realize that there was anything unusual about it, as many of us who have these things don't. And so all the way through, I came from a background where, on the one hand, my father was Masonic, Masonic full-blooded Danish. So we got the Norse, the Vikings in the background there, and we got the Masonics. He told me there were good Masonics and not so good Masonics. The dark Masonics were the ones you needed to stay away from. So as a whole, they're like the rest of society, neither evil nor good as a whole. But they're all kinds of people. Okay. And so, judging all of them as being evil would not be fair. Because I've known many that were not in the least bit, I could not find anything evil about them. So you cannot say that's like, I guess we get these ideas that we have to codify something, it's like, all reptilians are evil. Well, no, we've been told that they're not all. And, all Masons are evil. No, they're not all. All humans, I guess, to some people would be destructive little critters. And are we all? No, we are not all. No, we aren't. We are not all anything. And it doesn't apparently, a lot of species are like that, and a lot of groups are like that. It's a mixed bag. It's all kinds of things. So, uh, I just wanted to get that out of the way because a lot of times people jump right to this, oh, a Mason, it's like, don't be afraid. He wasn't a bad person. He wasn't a bad, uh, he had some issues. He had PTSD, which caused a lot of problems. He had some other issues, but it was just more of an Archie Bunker type thing, um, which was pretty normal at the time. I mean, the way he acted was pretty normal. Go watch All in the Family. That was pretty much very similar to the whole neighborhood, my whole neighborhood, everybody's dad pretty much acted like it was Archie Bunker. Uh, but my version of Archie Bunker had one very important difference. Instead of Playboy or something down underneath the bed, he kept his Fate magazines, and Fate magazines was a paranormal magazine, and some other magazines like that. And anything having to do with paranormal, anything, he had to have it. He wanted that magazine. He wanted to read that. So I was raised with that. Now, on my mother's side was the Native Americans, and there's a lot of creative people on that side, whereas my dad's side was craftsmen. Um, I guess my great grandmother had been the hairdresser to the queen. My great grandfather had been the royal clockmaker. Both skilled professions. They would have been noblemen. So on that side of the family, I'm a noble. I'm nobility. I'm not sure what that means exactly in this today's scheme of things. It might mean that we're connected to something. I don't know. But yeah, you had to be nobility to get that close to the king or queen. So that's my dad's side. My mom's side were more artisans of a different kind. They were more just creative. My dad was more artisan. My mother's side, more creative, music, art, that kind of thing. And the Native American, that's where the Native American comes in. And my great grandmother was a Whitehorse. So now we are not our bodies. However, souls tend to reincarnate in a genetic lineage. That just seems to happen. Now, not always, but most of the time, a soul will reincarnate in the same genetic lineage. So it does have some bearing on things. And hello there, Brandy Robinson. How are you doing? Okay. So you can actually utilize the gifts of your ancestors, which is why it's nice, you can usually use that connection to utilize some of their gifts. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think, people try to separate themselves, and yeah, we are not our bodies. However, our lineage, our genetic lineage, and the souls that dwell in our past, uh, I think a lot of times they watch over us and guide the path. So, yes, we're going to talk about that. Um, and I will mention this. It's very odd that I chose to talk about death tonight because one of our group just had a death in the family, a very close death in the family. And But the beautiful thing about it was they took one last vacation together, one that her spouse very much wanted to take, and they were at the end of it and on their way home when it happened and he died. And nothing could revive him of a heart attack. Nothing could revive him. And so he had pretty much his last wish. He was doing something he loved with someone he loved. And when he took his leave, he had gotten his last wish, which is a beautiful thing if you think about it. I mean, that doesn't always happen, right? So, but as nice as that is for him, of course, they're fine. The rest of us, it's the rest of us, it's the ones that are left here that have the hard time, right? Because their hard times are over. And I'm going to explain that. Um, so that was my basic background. I knew, okay, I had been taken to a charismatic faith healer church, basically Catherine Kuhlman's church, since I was a kid. I was up on stage with her. I sang up there every year. We would have I was in the children's chorus, sang up there every year next to Catherine Kuhlman, next to the faith healer. People were slain in the spirit right and left. People got healings. And very early on, I was introduced to the idea that stuff can happen without you physically doing anything to anybody. And whether you believe that that is God, the power of the mind, or whatever it is, you know, that hello, James Oritz. How you doing? Um, that's up to you. That's totally up to you. But I saw that it was possible, and I also saw, and of course we were told it was because of God, because praying, okay? Um, okay. And my father actually, my dog was a little mini wiener dog. He was so cute, but he jumped wrong and he landed wrong and he paralyzed his back legs. He hurt his back. His back legs were paralyzed, and we were contemplating whether or not we had to put him down. And I saw my dad actually heal him. And it wasn't like right away, but it was over time. He would work with them and he healed the dog. After a few days, it didn't heal naturally, so he decided to heal the dog. And I saw that. And as a child, I had invisible friends. I saw fairies and I saw angels and I saw all kinds of things. And I also saw some bad things. And I thought it was normal. So I'm coming from a very different, and I also found out I couldn't talk about this to hardly anybody because my school chums would call it nutty and crazy, and um, you just couldn't talk about it. So I learned you can't talk about it. So, and Brandy Robinson says we are creators from the original OG. What's OG? Am I missing something? OG, am I missing something? Okay, so that's the background. So I was not totally indoctrinated away from the spiritual and the metaphysical, like many people are. And maybe that gave me an advantage. Maybe that is part of why I had an advantage, is because there was some vestige of belief in what some people call magic, spirituality, God, whatever, something beyond the strictly physical. Okay. Yeah, that's right. She was the miracle person. I Believe in Miracles was her book. Yeah, the name of her book. Oh, Original Gangster. Well, that's me. Gangsta Granny, I guess now. Some people, that's what that's Chris and Cherie Chris called me. He says you've got this grandma energy, this yeah, that I reminded him of Dolores Cannon, and I had this grandma energy, the gangster guy. I'm thinking gangsta granny. There's a cartoon for you, right? There's a meme. And in fact, I'm coming up on my 65th birthday. I'll give you a list of gifts, okay? A list of gifts, but I'll give you a list of gifts. What you can send, okay? But yeah, that's coming up in December. I am actually, and I'm not. I don't know if I'm happy or what I am. I guess I'm neutral about it. But um, anyway, oh my God, I can't believe I lasted this long. If I'd known I was going to last this long, I would have taken much better care of myself. Uh, oh, Granny, what do? Unless you are a granny, not too many women want to hear that. But it's okay. I'll be okay with it. It just means I'll live longer than a lot of folks. And I know some things. You bet I do. Okay. So I'm coming from that background. Now, you realize as I was growing up, I have mentioned this before. I would quite often wake up in a pool of blood, my own blood, bleeding from the nose, not knowing why. Sometimes it wouldn't stop very easily. My dad had the same problem. My mother never had this problem. She never had this problem, but my dad and I both did. And I had a type of PTSD. I would not sleep at night. I would stay awake. I was a worrywart like my mom. Uh, I would stay awake, and finally, when I would drop off to sleep early in the morning, uh, I would have the weirdest dreams for a long time. I had dreams where I would dream about what the next day was going to be like, exactly what was going to happen. And it was maddening because I had to ask myself, is it really happening or am I just dreaming that it's happening? And then having it happen again after I dreamed it, well, actually, they called me a granny first, and I'm like, thanks a lot, Chris. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see about that. But no, he said it was a really good energy. It was like the cookie baking grandma type hospitality, sort of loving grandmother type energy, which is not an insult really, uh, unless you're an ageist, and I'm not an ageist. So I I'm gonna be one of the coolest grannies. So unfortunately, I am not actually. Well, I don't know, because later on I find out that I probably have little hybrid children running around somewhere. Anyway, the OG. Bomber's writing songs. Whoa. Yeah. Let's see what kind of beat she puts it to. Granny D, bring life with love and a heart that's free, and she's the queen bee, the OG. Yeah, that's what Bomber wrote. So basically, that's what I was coming from. I was coming from a religious background where miracles could happen and magic could happen. You couldn't talk about it, and I was also one of those inquisitive kids with a big mouth. Sometimes I would ask all the wrong questions. Very intelligent. My dad was very intelligent. He had a high IQ. Um, and I asked all the wrong questions. And I got in trouble for it pretty much constantly because the kind of questions I asked, at like Sunday school or like in school, just nobody had a really good answer for, or they had an answer that didn't make any sense to me. And so a lot of my time I spent trying to make sense of the world. I was one of those weird kids that didn't talk until all of a sudden, at 6 months old, I uttered my first sentence. And it was a complete sentence with no baby talk, and I never spoke any baby talk. And I told my mother I was watching TV with my mother, and I told her that I had been a fighter in my last life, like that one on TV. In a life. No, not my last life, but in another life. I had been a fighter like that one on TV. And she just looked at me like, "What did you say?" And I kind of remember it. She was so shocked. Like, because all of a sudden, this kid who's never said a word, never spoke baby talk, just comes out with this full sentence. And then she promptly called up my Aunt Martha and said, "Hey, you're never going to believe this, who I got on the phone here. Say hello, honey." So I talked to my Aunt Martha a little bit and told her who I was. And my mom said, "Tell her who you are." And I did. And Martha said, "All right, put B on the phone." Well, that was my mother. And she's like, "Okay, so who is this? What kind of joke is this?" And she goes, "No, that's Diane." She goes, "No, that can't be Diane. Diane's only about 6 months old." And she goes, "Yeah, I know. That was Diane." My Aunt Martha told me this a lot later, and my grandmother told me this too. So I talked to my grandmother and my Aunt Martha and had a full-fledged conversation with them, and they're both sitting there going, "Nah, that can't be this kid. No, that just didn't happen." But anyway, that's how I started, and I haven't shut up since, I guess. So that's the kind of life I had. Hey, Simon. Mm. Yo, dog. Yo, that's my dog, Simon. So yeah, did I have a normal childhood? No, no, not at all. Nothing, nothing normal. Nothing that you would consider normal at all. Nothing. Okay, nothing was normal about my childhood, practically. Except I went to school like everybody else. And to tell you the truth, I don't think that the people in my neighborhood, I don't think any of us had a really that normal of a childhood because we were all a little weird, if you ask me. I don't know, maybe that's a whole human condition type thing, right? So, hey, Ghost Magnet. Hey, good to see you. So, I can't say that my experience was typical at all. Before I even started, I had this idea, and you know what? When I met my husband to be, he had a mole in his hair. I mean, I was to the point where I was using magic on a pretty much daily basis already. I was using some form of magic, healing, whatever you want to call it, on a daily basis. That was always there, even before I died. I basically there was a mole that had gray hair, like right in his head, and it really bothered him. And I said, "You want it gone?" And I took it out for him. And one day he walked in and he said, "You know what's really weird is that mole. I can't find that mole. Isn't that weird?" And I said, "Well, yeah, you wanted it gone, didn't you?" He goes, "Yeah, well, I didn't like it, but I don't know how it went." I said, "Well, you told me you wanted it gone, so it's gone." And he goes, "Yeah, I did." Yeah, I said, "Well, I just got rid of it." Well, to me, it wasn't that weird, but to him, it was like, "What?" So yeah, I could do things like that back then. Don't ask how. I don't know how that. I It was just part of the thing. And so it's just part of the life. Uh, And you couldn't tell too many people about it, though. You still couldn't tell too many people about it because, they call you a liar and crazy and stuff. So, as time went on, we moved into a place together. Um, we were fixing to get married. My dad died while um, while I was dating him, and a lot of things happened. I'm not going to go into my father's death experience right now and what was going on at that time. But there was nothing normal about that either. That wasn't a normal thing. I should tell you that my father was ever dying. He had emphysema. He never smoked a day in his life, and he had emphysema somehow and was dying most of my life. So, most of my life, I grew up knowing that my father was dying. And that was just, and so as a kid, I decided that I was going to make friends with death because, death was a lot of people. My parents were older, a lot of people were dying. I better just might as well make friends with death because it was going to happen to somebody somewhere, maybe even me. You know how kids think, maybe even me. I better just be friends with it. So I kind of befriended the idea of death, which is a strange thing for a kid and made me kind of a morbid and weird little kid. Made me even a touch weirder. I didn't have a whole lot of friends back then. I had them outside of school, but not inside of school. They thought I was even just too weird for my classmates. So I was one of those really weird kids, smart kids. It was bad enough that I was smart, but also being weird on top of it. No, I wasn't a popular kid. No, not by a long shot. I had one or two decent friends, and that was it. I got bullied and beat up on most of the time. And yet, I had decided that I was going to be a nonviolent person because I felt that's what God wanted me to be, was nonviolent. So I turned the other cheek and let other people beat the hell out of me. Quite often, I still have some scars. And meanwhile, now I know, I look back on it, and I was probably getting abducted on a pretty regular basis. I saw weird things. I would get up in the middle of the night, bump into somebody standing there in the dark, go on to the bathroom, come back, get into bed. It was just a common thing. It was just another thing that happened. Sometimes I'd have really bizarro dreams. It was just a common thing. Sometimes I'd wake up in a pool of my own blood. Again. One time I passed out on the floor from an episode like that. Okay, once again, life wasn't normal. And there's nobody you can tell. You can't even really talk about it in your family. They just kind of go, well, honey, stuff happens. It was just a nosebleed, Can't. However, when my father would get drunk, he'd start talking about things. I'm not going to go into it all now, but had he had sightings? Oh, sure. He was an experiencer. He was definitely an experiencer. Turned out my mother was too. That was a whole nother ball of wax. So, as I had got tried to find out, trying to figure out what the heck was going on in my family, after I got to a certain age, I realized that none of this was normal, right? And so I'm questing after what the heck is going on in my crazy family that all of this is happening. It's not normal, right? And I'm reading because, of course, that's what smart people do. Smart kids, what do? They spend their time in the library trying to figure things out, right? Um, you know, it's like, where do you go? What do you do? Uh, what what is going on in my freaking crazy life? Why is all this stuff happening? And I started finding some answers. And two of the books that really stand out as reference in this story of my death is Ruth Montgomery's Life After Life series. She wrote more than one. I read them all. Little did I know it was preparing me. It was explaining what was going to happen to me. I didn't know. The other one that has a bearing on this was Whitley Strieber, who is one of the first people to really discuss his own experiences as an abductee and contactee. And, he was first an abductee and then a contactee. And a lot of people have kind of forgotten about Whitley. He was one of the first people to really do that, and make a series of books about it. So they were very influential. Well, there was some others, but I'll mention them for other stories. So these two are relevant for now. So basically, the Ruth Montgomery stuff was very informative. Of course, I read Catherine's books too, Course in Miracles. I also read Course in Miracles and a whole bunch of religious stuff. I had read the whole Bible by the time I was, I don't know, maybe 8 or so. I think I'd read the whole Bible a couple of times, you know, and I was reading an entirely different book than what they were telling me. I was reading a book about, I swear, I was reading a book about aliens. Really. When I read it, it was aliens. It was obviously, this was a book about aliens and colonization, and it was an entirely different book. And I couldn't tell anybody. You know? So, and Jesus was obviously, to me, to my mind, was he, he's supposed to be the son of God and just all spirit and all of that? No. No, to me, he was a very, very advanced ET, but I couldn't say that. Very spiritually advanced being, but most likely actually an ET. But don't say that. Okay. Or you're going to get your soul saved, and that can be really harsh. So, Yeah. I'm going to read a chat for a minute here. Excuse me. Well, if you're smart enough to know that you know what? The more you know, the more you know you don't know. The more you know you don't know. You don't know beans. So, one of the things that happened was I was living with my now ex, with my husband to be at the time, in our first house. And I had a dream. And he was used to me being psychic. I mean, he was using me pretty much to climb the ladder. He had started off as a clerk and was working his way up the ranks. He would ask me many questions, and I was his home psychic on call every day. And he liked that. So we had a pretty decent relationship. I wasn't too interested in money. He had a job, though, and that was good. My father had liked that before he died, so um, and my mother got along with him. So I thought, well, this is probably the guy. He was a good friend of mine. We started out as friends and ended up lovers, and that happens quite often when you were young. I woke up one day and he already knew I was psychic, and I said, I have had a dream. And I told him this whole dream. And it was it was a dream. I said, in my dream, I died. And he said, oh, you died? I said, yes, I think I'm going to die. Oh my gosh, I think I'm going to die. And he said, when? Do you know when? And I said, well, it looks like I think I said, if I remember correctly, I think I said it looks like it's either 24th, 28th, somewhere in that range of January, which was a few months away. So I think this was in like November or something that I had this dream. And in the dream, I I remember it was all white. Everything was white. The background was all white. There was a lot of light coming in, but I'm going down a hill. I'm starting down a hill. I'm driving a stick shift. And we had an old stick shift van, by the way. And that the shift stuck quite often. And the shift sticks. And as I'm trying to adjust for that, I hit a chuckle, an icy chuckle. And everything just goes wild. And I end up, I'm dead. I'm dead. And I know I'm dead. I'm thinking to myself in the dream, this is how I die. And he just looks at me. He says, well, what do you want to do about it? And I said, well, maybe I shouldn't be driving that van. Maybe this is a warning. And he said, yeah, I guess that could be. Well, maybe we should get you, see if we can borrow a car. So that, I mean, my friend Steve has a car. Um, maybe he'd let you borrow it for a little while. I said, okay, that might be good because our old van, we knew it was dangerous. We knew we were driving you know, I had already, I should preface this by saying, I had already almost died in that van, okay, because I had come to the top of a hill when I was driving this van. A big hill. I mean, this was a huge hill, and and a trafficked one at that. And the brakes had already given out once on this van. We'd gotten them fixed, but I managed to get it all the way down to the intersection and turn because the intersection teed off. And I would have been right in a building or something if it would have gone on. But I managed to snake around all of the cars and get it to come to a stop at a parking stop without brakes, without a horn. I tried the horn, no horn. The horn wasn't working either. Tried the emergency brake, no emergency brake. No brakes, no emergency brake, nothing. I was just flying down that hill with no way to stop anything. And it was me and some other folks and my ex. And we get to the bottom. I just bump it. I say, okay, I'm gonna do this. And I just bump it at the bottom and I just, it came to a stop. And we were safe. And it was like a miracle. And I said, well, I wasn't supposed to die today. And that was my attitude. Well, then I have this dream, right? This was about a year or more after. I have this dream and I said, yeah, I think I'm getting a warning about that van. This could be the last time we fix that van. This could be the last time that van needs fixing. Yes, that thing might be fixing to kill me. This time, it could be the time that I die. So we borrowed the car. And it was a clear day. And he had something he needed me to do, but it was in that time period. And I was saying, I don't know. I don't think I really want to go out. I don't think I should go out. And he was saying, no, but you need to deliver this. We're going to lose a lot of money if you don't deliver this. It was something or other that needed to be mailed, like right then. And I said, I don't think I really want to do that. He said, come on, it's a beautiful, clear day. Nothing's going to happen. We've got the other car, you don't have the van. And finally, he talked me into it. And I said, okay, but as soon as I deliver this, as soon as I drop you off at work and deliver this, because we only had one working car, I'm going to go hide out somewhere. And I'm not coming out until it's time to pick you up and go home. He says, okay, fair enough. He said, I'm not going to do any more running than that. That's all. I'm going to do the least possible because I still don't feel good about it. So it took about a good 20 minutes for us to get him to work. And I drop him off. And as I'm dropping him off, it's starting to snow. A snow blizzard just came through, coated everything with snow and ice. And I'm like, oh, this isn't good. So I'm like, okay, that's it. Drive carefully. Just drive. Everything's going to be fine. Just drive carefully. Just, it's going to be okay. Yeah, just be aware of the surroundings, etc. And I had dropped him off. I'm heading out to go run that errand. And I'm going down. I realize I'm going down a hill. Okay, be careful. I go to shift. And the shift is stuck. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And while I'm trying to shift, there's that chuck hole. And my thought in my head, just like in the dream, was, oh shit, this is how I die. This is how I die. I guess this is how I die. This is it. And I ended up When I woke up, when I came to, I found myself, I'm going to go to that first. We'll get back to what happened when I was dead, how that happened. But when I woke up, to me, it looked like I had fallen asleep. I would often drive so far to be a vendor, because I was a vendor, that I would sometimes just park, fall asleep, rest a little bit, and then get up and do whatever I had to do. So I was used to falling asleep in a vehicle. I thought I had just fallen asleep in a weird position in a vehicle. And I pulled myself up off the steering wheel. The car was in a tree. I didn't realize this. The car was actually had banged into it, wrapped itself around a tree. The steering wheel was up in my chest. I was impaled on the steering wheel. I pulled myself up off of it, and it was at an angle. It was at a downward angle, so it was heading for like a ditch, but the tree stopped it. And I pulled myself up off it, and the door was already open. And I'm looking outside, and there's a guy there, and he's looking at me in terror, in absolute terror. And I'm like, well, this is odd. I said, well, what's wrong? What are you looking at? And he says, and I said, you're looking so funny at me. What's going on, man? I know this is a bad place to park. I'll move the car, okay? I parked in a bad spot. I realized I don't even know why I parked here. I guess I was just tired. And he says, you were dead. I said, what? No, I'm okay. Well, I'm not okay. And I got up and I walked a little ways and I walked around a little bit and I felt crick, 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 crick as I breathed. I did feel kind of funny. I felt kind of numb all over. And I'm like, I don't feel right. And I looked at the car and I'm like, oh my God, I had freaking totaled the car. And I'm like, oh my God, he's right. I said, well, no, I'm not dead. But then there's the ambulance. And the ambulance guys are asking me questions and helping get me up the hill, up this little hill. And, I'm in between places that I'm living. I'm moving into this new place from the old place, and they're asking me questions. It's coming up a little muddled. They're saying you got a concussion. They send me. They put a neck brace on me, and I say there's nothing wrong with my neck. It's my chest. They don't pay any attention to that. They put me in a neck brace. Send me off to a hospital. Hospital X-rays my neck. They don't find anything wrong. They take off the collar, pulls out half my hair. I bitch about it. I still don't feel happy. They tell me, here's some muscle relaxer, get in a hot tub, get in a warm tub, you'll feel better. And they send me on my way. And I'm like, what? Oh, whoa. I don't, I'm there going, well, they never checked into my chest, but I guess it's not important. Because I told the doctor too. No, they didn't check the chest, they checked the neck. Couldn't get him to check it. So they send me, and so a I had a lifetime membership to a gym at that time, to Bally's Gym and Fitness, and I decided to go into the hot tub there. And while I was sitting there in the hot tub, I felt great. I felt fine. There's nothing wrong with me. It was when I tried to get out of there that I felt bad. And from there, I had to be helped out of the hot tub and taken to another hospital where they x-rayed me a lot. For a long time, I screamed a lot and scared everybody out in the waiting room because they were torturing me, basically, making me move because what had happened is I had gotten broken up and they had not found it at the first hospital. And nobody even knows how I was walking around. And mostly the ribs. And there was also some other stuff. And so my ribs, I so much could have happened to me, but I'm still alive, right? I'm thinking, well, I'm still alive. I guess I'm okay. So I'm not quite dead yet. Yes, I'm not quite dead yet. I could, I feel happy. I could go dancing, I think. I can. So a whole lot more happened after that, but I'm going to break it off right there and I'm going to rewind a little bit. I'm going to rewind and tell you what my weird dream was while I was dead. Because apparently, what had happened is when I impacted, the steering wheel went up into my chest and stopped my heart. Not for a long, long period, but long enough for the ambulance to get there, which must have been a few minutes at the very least. We never could pin down exactly how long it was, okay? But apparently, I was dead briefly or showed signs of being dead for a while. And while I was, I had an experience that was similar to, but not exactly like anybody else I'd ever read the experience of. Okay, so I see the tunnel for a brief moment. Do I see myself floating over my body? No, didn't see that part. I had seen that part earlier in my life, though. I had floated over my body before. I didn't know then I was getting out of my body and traveling. I didn't know that what that was. So I had seen that before, but no, I didn't see that when I was dying here. What I saw the tunnel very briefly, very, very briefly. What I did see was a garden, and it was beautiful, really beautiful. And there were many people of many different nationalities, and I swear they all look like religious. Most of them look like religious figures, all silently talking to each other because there was really no sound. They must have been using telepathy or something. And I'm looking around and they're all just kind of standing around talking to each other and enjoying this beautiful garden. And I'm looking around, well, it's a beautiful place. Well, I'd been there before in my dreams. My dad had been there too, and he described that place. So I'm like, oh, I'm in the garden. Okay. Well, all of a sudden, while I'm waiting for the next thing to happen, and by the way, everybody looked like they were getting along too. So while I'm waiting for the next thing to happen, I was like, is somebody going to come out and greet me? Am I, what's going on? Am I going, what am I doing? What am I doing? All of a sudden, I find myself in a cave looking at a very, very old person. Now, there wasn't anything scary about the cave. And I got to tell you, when I was dead, there was no pain. There was no fear. I wasn't afraid in any way, what shape, nothing, nothing. There was no pain. I wasn't afraid of anything. There was no nothing. It was just, oh, I'm in a garden with all these people. That's interesting. And the next thing, I'm in a cave talking to this very, very old person. And it was like we'd been having a very long conversation, but I couldn't remember it. And they looked at me, and as they looked at me, it was like they put something in me, in my head. And they said, mentally, they said, It will unpack when you need it. It will gradually unpack over time when you need it. And I said, what is it? He said, you'll find out. I'm like, okay. And all of a sudden, I wake up, pull myself off of the steering wheel that's up in my chest. God, what an uncomfortable way to sleep, right? That's what I was thinking. What a weird dream. Another dream about the garden. Weird. Okay, so not a very exciting death experience, near death experience on the surface of it. But later, I was to find out that this was the very same day that the Challenger exploded. Now, all that anybody could talk about was the Challenger exploding. So when I got home and I got told, we can't do anything about the ribs, we can't wrap you, we're afraid that you'll get pneumonia, you're just going to have to stay still for 8 weeks. Because every time you move, it's going to be like an earthquake in your body, and it's going to make it harder for your bones to knit. And so you've got to stay still. They're sending me home, telling me I got to stay. Now, I was a type A. I had a business, you know, I had stuff going on, had all kinds of stuff going on. And you're telling this type A, she's got to stay home, stay immobile for 8 weeks. I'm like, how the heck is that? And Bob could not stay and watch me and help me because he had to work. We weren't that rich. We didn't have that good of insurance. So I was pretty much going to be, while he was gone, I was pretty much alone, having to not move as much as possible for the time that he was gone, which would be about 8-9 hours at a stretch. And the things that I saw while I was lying there recovering, I saw so many strange things. That place was very haunted. Let me tell you, it was wild. It was pretty wild. Um, I don't think I'm going to go into the individual instances, but we had one ghost that would run up the steps. It would always sound like it was throwing open the door and running up the steps, and nobody would ever be there. But on this occasion, after I died, I saw who was running up the steps that nobody ever could see. I saw that ghost. And it was a guy, dark hair, white shirt, dark pants, 3 little black cats playing around his feet. And he walked past me and looked at me briefly. And I said, well, hi there. And then he looked straight ahead and walked right out the window. I'm there going, oh, I thought Bob had brought home one of his friends. But no, this guy comes up and he just walks right by, and I'm not even sure he saw me. There may have been somebody or something else he was looking at there at the time that this happened to him. But yeah, I finally saw, and I said, hey, Bob, I finally saw the ghost that comes running up the steps. And I described him and everything, and we looked into it. And it was most probably the minister that because the place had been a church. Turns out that it was a very old building and the place had been a church. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So the ghost vision tuned in really well. Yeah, I thought I parked the car wrong. I mean, seriously. I told you this was a pretty good story. So I thought it might help somebody to hear it. So yeah, the ghost thing turned on a lot more, but so did the and ghost magnet. This is why I just love your name. I kind of became a ghost magnet too. Why? I figured it out much later. It's just like in the movie The Ghost. Why? Ghost? That movie Ghost? Why was Whoopi Goldberg seeing all these things? Why were they all coming to her? Because she could see them. Yeah, they come to you if you're a medium because you can see them and they can't communicate with most people. Most people can't see them. Who are they going to talk to? You're going to stand around and hang around people that can't see you? You're going to try and talk to them? Spend all your time trying to do that? Or are you going to go to somebody that can see you and can talk to you and maybe relay your message to your loved one? It only makes sense, right? I hope this is answering some of your questions. So I'm hoping that some of your questions are being answered by these things because, like I said, I've never shared this much detail of this. But then a whole lot of other things happen. And I mean a whole lot of other things because I said to my husband, you know, I'm not going to ignore my dreams again. And I'm sure not going to ignore messages from spirit. And there's something real going on here. And nobody can tell me otherwise. And he goes, well, it wasn't the exact day. And I said, no, it was a space of days in between the days I quoted you when this could happen. And it did happen. You can't tell me, Bob, that it didn't happen to every detail I told you. He goes, well, yes. And that snow came out of a clear sky. And that's why everything was all white in my dream. And the same thought went through my head. Okay, I guess this is it. I'm going to die. This is it. We're all going to die. Yeah, if you read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I guess this is it. We're all going to die. But so, but I also got other stuff too. It was like I was starting to see all kinds of visions. That's when the nine showed up. It was after that that the nine showed up. I really took an interest in spirituality. I really took an interest in psychism. I really took an interest in all kinds of things. And I was just trying to explain to myself what the hell happened to me. You know, I mean, that's really what it was. And, I find that this is true with so many people. They're just trying to figure out what the hell happened to them. They're just trying to figure out, what have I got? I got something. I can do this. Wait a minute. I got this thing happening to me. What the hell is it? What can I do about it? Can I do anything about it? Is it good? Is it bad? What's going on? You know, that's the way it goes a lot of times. Even though I'd had a nice groundwork for it all. So one of the things that happened was I had agreed to marry my husband to be. And that's when my mother told me basically, I had read Whitley Strieber's book and I was sitting there. I mean, because all I had to do was read and watch TV during my recovery. I did a lot of reading and watching of TV, right? And so I'm feeling better. We're at a Wendy's. She takes me out to a Wendy's. And, we're talking about, okay, I'm going to get married. She says, well, since you're going to get married, I never told you this, but you had a brother. Now, I'm going to back up a minute here and relate that one of the things that Whitley Strieber talks about in his series of books is these phantom pregnancies and these little hybrid pregnancies, and how a, a lot of times the children are actually born, but they're either listed as being born dead, or they're, like a miscarriage, or something happens. And in some cases the women would say, well, I was told that my child was, you know stillborn. And what happened to the body? Oh, the little doctors took him away. And I'm sitting there and I'm reading this and I'm going, well, there is no way, when I'm reading it, I'm thinking there is no way I'm going to believe this. The only way I would ever believe that this is real is if it was, you know, if somebody told me this that I trusted, and it would have to be their experience, not a friend of a friend or anything like that. It would have to be, and I put all these stipulations on it. And guess what? My mother, she tells me exactly this sort of scenario that Whitley Strieber describes in the book. My brother was stillborn. He had an enlarged cranium, and they had told her that it was hydroencephaly. I can't prove that it was or wasn't, but nobody was ever buried. I said, well, where's he buried then? Buried? Yeah, I mean, there was a body, right? What happened to the body? Well, I don't know. They took him. They did. And then they told you that he was still, yes. Okay. That was exactly the kind of story I had just read about. And I'm like, I swear I had a fry in one hand, a burger in the other, and they just stayed there in the air a long, long time while I was trying to process this. And I said, and tried to ask a few more questions to make this make sense. And no, it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. No, it was exactly the scenario. Exactly, exactly. And I'm like, gosh, I have a hybrid brother somewhere. Chances are I have a hybrid brother somewhere. This is getting bizarro. My life that was just the beginning. That was just the beginning. It just got weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. And I mean, I had things disappear. I had people disappear. I had buildings disappear and show up. I had people who I never met who knew me act like they knew me a long time. And in some cases you can just say, well, I'm a vendor. Maybe I don't remember everybody I meet. But in some cases it's like, I swear I never met you before, but they know a lot about me. Okay, well, that can happen, right? It's possible. It's not impossible, right? And you try and you grapple back and forth. I was grappling, but I was like, what the hell is going on here? I mean, it was like reality was shifting all the time. And it was like, well, you just better get used to it, girl, because this is the way it's going to be now. Is what is the message I was kind of getting. It was like, yeah, it's going to be weird. Okay, here you go. Have fun. And well, I started going to I learned about a metaphysical group, uh, organization, a big one near me. I started going there. I started going to that bookstore, reading those books, trying to figure out more and more and more about what was happening to me, realizing that I was not a normal kid. I was not leading a normal life, and then there was nothing about my life that was ever normal. And there's no use even trying. You thought maybe you were trying to lead a normal life, but there's no way you're ever going to lead a normal life or anything like normal. And what the hell is normal anyway, right? When you come right down to it, what the heck is normal? Mm-hmm. Yeah. True ghost magnet. Yeah. Yeah. And I know my NDE experience is not quite like anybody else's, maybe. So, yeah, Bomber, sometime you'll have to tell us about your NDE. Now, I always wondered who this person was. I even painted a picture of them on a piece of slate. Who is that person? What did they give me? But I had all of these things that would come out of me, all of this information. And I would just try and tell whoever was around at the time who I thought would understand. And some of my friends at that time were saying, no, this is an empowerment. I'd say, I hate it though. It's scary. It was very frightening because I could see dark things too. I could see dark things, and it scared the fuck out of me. I didn't know what to do about it. At first, I tried doing the Jesus type thing, and it didn't always take care of it. And I'm like, why is it not taking care of it? I looked deeper into it. Why can't I get rid of them once and for all? Why can't I, you know? And I looked deeper and deeper and deeper, and I learned a lot of things, and I met a lot of people who wrote a lot of books. And I mean, we had a metaphysical society that every month they would have another person who wrote a book, had some kind of experience, technique, whatever, and would describe it to us and, be talking about it. So I met a lot of people that way. I started going to the kind of fairs where you'd meet people that could, the psychic fairs and even some of the magical fairs and even some of the pagan fests, just to try and figure out what was going on with me because it seemed like it was really ramping up. Well, it wasn't boring, but it wasn't comfortable by any means. Yeah, exactly, Bomber. What the hell is normal anyway? That's one of the conclusions I came to too. Is normal. What the heck is that anyway? One person's definition, another person's definition. Who's to say what normal really actually is anyway? Yeah, well, Circle K, I was just talking about that when I was a kid. I did that. I would dream every night of the next day. Every night, I would dream of everything that was going to happen the next day. And then every day was deja vu the whole freaking day. It drove me crazy. And I finally said, I guess I didn't say that part. I finally said, when I was a kid, finally said, these dreams have got to stop. They're driving me nuts. And that's when one of the reasons I started staying up all night trying not to dream. But then it got weirder because I started having all of these nightmares. Okay, I stopped dreaming about the future. I started having all these freaking nightmares. And of people in my room, weird things in my rooms, big giant spiders in my room, just all kinds of weird shit in my room. And it was like Grand Central Station. And that's as a kid. And it got to the point, like I said, I just get up and walk through it, go to the bathroom, get back in bed, and just try to, pull up the covers and try to pretend that this wasn't happening. Yeah, Groundhog Day. It was. It was kind of like living, only it wasn't the same day. It was a different day. And every day I remember saying, no, it's got to happen different this time. I got to do something different. I got to make it different. I'm going to go nuts if it isn't different. If it's just like my dream, I'm going to lose it. And so I would try to do something different to make it different. Like I said, that's when the nightmares really started. So, yeah, I went through that. So by the time I became a young lady, that's when I started having the phantom pregnancies. I always had trouble that time of the month, severe cramps. It's a tip off. If you're having severe problems, a lot of times it's because you're being messed with. Not always, but a lot of times. People who have who are donors, unwitting or unwilling donors of eggs, they have very hard cramps and stuff, horrible symptoms. And that pretty much happened a long time until I finally figured out what to do about that. Nothing really worked entirely. I was sick every month. I was really sick. Hey Ben, how you doing? So when you have weeks, and Ghost Magnet says when I have weeks of deja vu, it gets stronger and stronger until it culminates in a collision of worlds that incapacitates me for a few hours until it goes away. But while I'm in that state, it's like being in the in between. It's the only way I can describe it. Yeah. So, did I see angels? Did I see demons? Did I see the ghosts of people? They're all different. Angels, demons, they're different. Yeah, they're very different. Ghosts of people? Yes. Other things? Yes, weird things, many things. Probably some ETs in that mix. From what I can tell, the giant spiders, some people remember that. There are other people who remember that. People who say they were taken to Mars in the 20 and back program. Was I a gifted kid? Would I have been one of those kids if that program even exists? I don't know. Does that program exist, the 20 and back program, where they take you for 20 years and they tell you that and it's a time travel thing and they plop you back in the same place? I don't know if you're aware of that program that people have talked about, but a lot of people have talked about it. MK Ultra, I don't know. Was I part of that? I know that I've seen a lot of things. I know I've tried to tell people a lot of things. I know that I wasn't received well. And I know that I can remember that I tried to tell people about it. I know that I can tell you that it happened, things happened. Exactly what happened, most of that is a blank. It's been erased. And it's been multiple times erased because I guess, if we are to believe what we're being told by the other experiencers and people who leak things, is that every 10 or 15 years, it begins to leak out again. Your memories start to come back. I guess that part heals up, and then you have to get blanked again. You have to get. I used to call it bulked because I helped somebody who worked in a radio station. I actually took a little bit of broadcasting training. We used to bulk the tapes. We used to put them on a strong electrical field, and this is kind of interesting. We used to put the old tapes that used to we used to record things on in the studio. We used to put it on the bulker, and I would help my friend bulk those tapes, and they would erase the tapes. It was a strong magnetic field, is what it was, but not completely. It would never be a blank tape again. but it would be erased enough that you wouldn't be able to tell. And that kind of reminds me of these reset cities we find, these structures. Even if we're being reset, are we being bulked like a tape? And there's always some little artifacts left from before we were erased the last time? Is that what's happening? I often wondered that. Is that what's happening? And if so, and then somebody came up with the matrix theory, and I resisted it for a long time. But as things and time began to go on, it made more and more sense to me that this could be, considering the memories I had, because I had all these memories flooding back too of past lives, places that I also existed. Apparently, I had an awareness that I was living multiple lives at the same time. And sometimes I could tune into these other lives. Sometimes I still can. Did I heal all right? And Ghost Magnet says, I wish I could just sit down with you and hear all the things that you can't and haven't told. I wish I could tell you. I wish I could tell you. I I kind of would like that. I'm kind of trying to do that now. I'm trying to get as much of it out. If it helps anybody, and maybe it will even help me. I don't know. To finally tell. Sometimes it helps to finally be able to tell your story. As weird as it is and as crazy as it seems, and it does make you look really freaking crazy if you try to tell people, the wrong people. It makes you look crazy. It makes you feel crazy. So if you don't know about the 20 and Back program, there are people who talk about it. Was I part of it? Kind of looks like I might have been if it exists. It could have happened because I was obviously a sensitive and I was a kid. I did have a lot of anxiety for a young kid. I also had people constantly tell me that I seemed a lot older than I was. All my life, I got that. I was this young kid with a very, very old and quite often very mature demeanor. You know, I remember I was talking to somebody, I was 16, and they said, how old are you? 16. God, I thought you were at least 35. Not that you look it, but the way that you talk. Oh, I just took it as, well, I'm educated, you know, I'm well read. You know, I come up with an excuse for it. But what if they were picking up on something real? What if it's true and what if that really exists? And I'm not saying it does or it doesn't, but if it does, it would sure explain a lot in my life. It would explain why I was such a old little kid. It would explain, in fact, some of the other experiencers have said the giant spiders are on Mars. That would be Mars. Um, and some other things that I vaguely remember. So many other things. So what's going on here? Is it spiritual? Is it extraterrestrial? Is it interdimensional? Yeah, In a word, I think it is all of that. I think it's all connected because the same mechanism that lets me see one thing lets me see the other things. The same thing that lets me interact with one thing lets me see other things. And there are times when it diminishes and times when it flourishes, times when I'm seeing everything and times when I'm not seeing so much. It's very wavy. It's like there's some kind of, it's like something's trying to keep it out, trying to keep it away, trying to keep it turned down, and something else is trying to turn it up. The abilities, I mean. It's really weird. I still haven't figured it entirely out. I will probably spend most of my life trying to figure it all out. I couldn't even admit to myself that I was a medium for years because there were way too many people who thought that was evil. So, and they'd go about trying to save your soul if you were a medium talking to ghosts. Well, that's evil. Some people believe that. Some people would believe it was a blessing, a healing from God, some kind of thing from God, coming from God. Other people would decide that it was from the devil. You never knew. You had to be very careful because you never knew which kind of crazy they were going to be. And I realized that most religions had been corrupted to steer us away from our real gifts, to steer us away from reality. And I couldn't say that either. That no matter how good they start, they become infiltrated. They are infiltrated and gradually corrupted and gradually become used as a way to control people, as a mind cage. And when I think of that, I see a guy with a screen with a holographic thing in front of him, and he's saying, mind cages. It doesn't matter which one you belong to. As long as you belong to one of these, you're in a mind cage, and we have you. So the only way is to not go entirely by any religion, but take the parts that resonate with you and leave the rest. Because every one of them has been corrupted, and every one of them is now being used as a mind cage. Now, how it is that I see that, I don't know. I remember when the 9 first came to me, they would answer every question I had with exactly 9 words. And it was always an amazing answer. And I only remember right now, one answer they ever gave me. I used to remember more. But the one I do remember, and I counted, and it came out to exactly 9 words. I said, "Can anything destroy a soul?" And they said, "That which was not created can never be destroyed," which was 9 words, I believe. But at the time, the way they said it, it was exactly 9 words. I never forgot that. Our souls cannot be destroyed. We exist forever. Our bodies can. We can be messed with, but you never actually really die. As a soul, your soul will never die. You will always exist. I believe, because were our souls created? No, I don't think they were. What I'm getting from that now look at though how that leaves you room. If you believe that souls were created, then yes, they can be destroyed. If you believe that they were never created, that they always existed, then no, they cannot be destroyed. And it's your choice. What do you believe? Was such a perfect answer. I could never have come up with that perfect of an answer. They told me other things too. I can't remember now. I wish I could. Every now and then somebody finds out I know things. I held back for a long time for that reason. But when people start to find out I know things, then I start to forget things. I have a point and I forget things. Are they trying to help me or just keep me silent? I don't know. I don't know. Do they think it's easier on me if I don't know? I don't know. Not sure. Yeah. Um, Past lives, probably even. I'm trying to get the meaning of what Circle K is talking about. Oh, yeah. What's crazy? Indeed. What's crazy? Yeah. Okay, Circle K is. I believe in that pro the 20 and back. I wasn't in it, but I knew someone who probably was. And on second thought, if you were ever in a war, your mind is messed up. Yeah, it is probably. That's probably one of the reasons wars exist. And Bomber think that's a great description. It's like something's trying to turn it up and something else is trying to turn it down. And you sit there and weigh your great wavy gravy for, like it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. Circle K in past lives, probably even civilian casualties get messed up in the head. My dad sure was messed up in the head. He fought in World War II. He was that old. He was messed up in the head. He was. He really was. He couldn't, he would have these times when he couldn't control his anger, except he never would do physical harm, but a lot of psychological harm. And when he was in that state, I saw a different person take him over. He had a spiritual attachment. Now I know. And when he died, I don't know if I'm ready to tell that story. I'm not ready to tell that yet. So, yeah, he'd been a sharpshooter. Interesting, because later on I found out that would have been, I think they call it special forces, something like that. He was very intelligent and he was a sharpshooter. He was a sniper. He probably had some horrible memories. He probably did have some pretty horrible memories. But he wouldn't talk about it unless he was drunk, and he wouldn't talk about the UFOs, but he would when he was drunk. He'd get a certain shade of drunk, and then he'd start talking about the abductions and the UFOs and stuff, and most of that I can't remember either now. But him and his friend both saw saucers and other craft and other things. And then at some point he'd realize he shouldn't be talking about it and he'd shut up. And it tortured him. I could see that it did. And I don't care what people say about the Greys being, oh, they're not that bad. Some people don't think they're bad. But you know what? They have fucked our lives up. They have imposed themselves upon us, taking things from us, screwing our lives up. I don't know if we would be. I don't know what my life would have been like. I don't think it would be as painful. I don't know what it would have been like without their interfering and meddling. And I think really the whole reason they're doing it is because they want their souls. They want a soul. They want to have souls again. Maybe they had souls. Maybe they need souls. I don't know. But it's like they're inserting themselves into our genome by making these hybrids. Is it because they want, because if our souls follow family lineages, now some of us are going to be born into gray bodies? No, no, I do not want that. I do not want my children to be born that way. And I have no children in this earthly life. Probably my only children, if they exist and if that happened, is the hybrid children. I really, tell you the truth, I was always a little afraid of having children. Just afraid. I don't know why. Something bad must have happened, but I was afraid of having children. Always. I for a brief while my hormones got the better of me and I thought I wanted to have a kid. But then I realized that I really don't want to. I'm terrified. I didn't like babies. I was kind of scared of them. I didn't like doctors. I was always scared of them. There were certain things that, why am I so afraid of them? More so than other people. I mean, I remember fighting my parents like a rabid beast to get out of the doctor's office, to get away from having a shot. They had to calm me the heck down. You know, they had to threaten me to get me to have a shot. One of the very first memories I have is being in my mother's arms. Yeah, I remember it. They told the story later, but I remember it very clearly. Seeing the doctor, I actually kicked and screamed and kicked down a whole rack of medicine. Of back at that time, it was a lot different. But the moment I saw him, I had a fit. I actually reached out and I wanted to run, but I couldn't run because I was a babe in arms at the time. And that's the part I remember. Then I remember getting in trouble. Kind of, I was chastised for that. But of course, being I was a baby, they weren't going to do too much. Just, why was I so afraid all of a sudden? Unless something had already happened to me. Or unless I was remembering something. I don't know. And we're told that past lives don't really exist. They're all running concurrently. We just don't see it that way. We see them as being consecutive, but they're really not. They're all happening at the same time. Are these other lives that I see, are these bleed through from the other lives that I am, the other people that I am, running concurrently with this one? It's mind-boggling. It's pretty mind-boggling. Once again, what do we know? The more you know, the more you know you don't know. People say, wow, you seem to know a lot. I remember. There's people who have said, you've got to be in at least 7 secret societies to know all the stuff you know. It's like, no. I was in about 7 metaphysical societies, probably altogether, but they weren't secret at all. Anybody could go to them. It wasn't like that. I don't know. Some of this, I don't know where I got it. It was part of what unpacked, and I realized at some point part of what was unpacking. That death was by contract, I think. It was all planned. It was going to happen no matter what we did, no matter how we tried to avoid it. That death was going to happen so that there would be this space of time when I could be contacted. And I wondered who this person was. And then I read Drunvalo Melchizedek's book. And somehow when I read that, he was talking about Thoth. However you want to say his name. I'll say Thoth. What the heck? Or Toth. But however you want to say his name. Supposedly, now I had people that would just walk by. As I was trying to puzzle this out, I'd have people, I was thinking, was that an old Indian? And somebody would walk by and I would swear I heard him say, no, it was an old Egyptian. I'd say, what? And they'd look at me like, what? What do you mean an old Egyptian? They said, what? I didn't say that. I'm like, okay. Yeah, they did. That's what I heard. When I looked into it, I read Drunvalo Melchizedek's book and who Thoth was, Thoth, and his wife in the cave, dwelling in the cave for years. He is the old wise man he was for many years, the old wise man dwelling in the cave with his wife. It was actually his wife, I believe her name is Seshet, who interacted with me and gave me that package in my head. So somehow that death, that short death had to happen so she could give me that information that I needed. It was the only way they could do it, even though it messed me up for life. I have never really fully recovered from that accident. I don't know, Circle K. Lady D, have you ever heard of the eighth sphere? No, I don't know about that. I would have to look that up. Or my daughter panicked the first time. Well, what I think of when I hear that is there were some remote viewers who remote viewed one of the cataclysms, and one of the cataclysms was a giant tidal wave. If she had died in a giant tidal wave, she would definitely have some scars from that. I wonder what doctor led to my demise. I wasn't a scaredy cat type either. She was a cat for years. Scaredy cat? Cats have it good. Yeah. Although we do things to cats like neuter them and spay them, take their babies away, give them away to people, put them in cages, stuff like that. Some people do, and some people eat dogs and skin cats. It's pretty horrible and gruesome. But I sometimes think that they know who they're going to. I'm pretty sure that mine always know they're going to me, and I'm not going to be doing any of that kind of thing to them. And I wouldn't hurt them. I'd always be trying to take care of them. So, I don't know. You tell me, what kind of story was that? Hope it helped somebody. There's a lot more, of course. There's a lot more. Like the time I finally realized, had to admit to myself, ah, shit, I'm a medium. Yeah, I'm a medium. Now, does that mean I have to interact with ghosts? Well, wait a minute, I have been interacting with ghosts for years. Oh, okay. A lot of times, you know what? Ghosts look just like people. They don't really look like you see in the movies that they're all cut up and stuff. I haven't seen too much of that. What I usually see is a person just looks like a person. Just looks like a living person. Except they come and go. They just show up and disappear in weird ways. Not even transparent. No, they aren't transparent. They just look like a person. Except you'll blink and they're gone. And you won't know when they came up. They just sort of show up and they just sort of disappear. That's a ghost. That's a human ghost. Your 7-year-old looks like an old man, huh? I'm pretty sure I was in Atlantis, yes. Yes, Circle K. I think I was. Oh, Circle K thinks she was probably, or Circle K, forgive me. I can't remember if you're male or female right now. I'm too deep in my story. I can't remember. Are you male or female? Yeah, you were probably close to the blast. And I know. I must have died in some horrible ways. I probably did. I probably had some horrible experiences that I don't really fully remember, but my subconscious knows. Your subconscious remembers everything. Everything. So, Session, Thoth was talking about Amende, the halls of Amende. Was that Atlantis? And were some of these memories from Atlantis? And were the Atlanteans actually the ones that built the Matrix? And are the place that I remember as home, was that Atlantis? I remember a place we had mainly three inhabited worlds. The others not so much. It's mostly the moons that were inhabited. 3 inhabited worlds. And they do roughly correspond to Venus, Earth, and Mars. The middle one was the library planet. It was part of a thing like an academy, a university. I worked there. I had a family. I had a really nice family. We had 3.5 children, one on the way. No, 2.5, almost 3. That's right. 2.5 children. Hmm. And there were others in my group. Besides me and my partner, there were 3 others that were helping us raise the kids. We were all a family. Good. And lots of us, anyway, we're out here. We're really. Have I put you in a trance? Put you to sleep? Woke you up? Uh, A, B, D, all of the above, none of the above. Yeah. So, yeah, I had a family. I left my family somehow. I know I had another life too where we were deciding, I think I was in the group deciding to make humans, deciding we were going to make humans with our own genetics, trying to argue the fact that if we put our own genetics in this creation, we're going to end up being incarnated in these things. You better be careful what you do. We're going to incarnate in those at some point. And they said, no, that's impossible. But here we are, incarnated in those things that they were building. It's like, and it, you know, well, like I said, I just felt like I wanted to finally tell that story. Why am I such a weird kid? Well, there you go. If you ever wanted to know why I'm such a freaking weird kid now, it's because I was always a weird kid. I don't think I had a damn choice. Well, maybe I had a choice a long time ago, but that all went by the wayside, didn't it? It's like now, it's like, eh, and what the heck is normal? I mean, would it be boring now to be? It probably would be pretty doggone boring to be normal. Oh, you're just waiting on a friend, huh? Okay. I'm not waiting on a lady. Okay. Well, Circle K, you're the last commenter. I'm going on 2 hours. I could go on longer, but I feel I have told most of my story now. And that probably explains a heck of a lot. Because people, when I say I have died, people have always want to know. And yeah, a lot of things turned on that hadn't been turned on before. Did I think I acquired them? No, I think maybe I already had them, but they just weren't turned on. Somehow they just, I don't know, hadn't bloomed or something. I don't know. But after I died, ah, things were different. Yeah, they were very different. Now, before I go, I do want to bring up one point. Many, many stories. The person that people are having trouble with, usually when people are having trouble, they come to me and they say, um, I don't know what happened to them. They were so different before the accident. Now, it's like I don't know who they are. What happens during these accidents? What really happens? I'd love to know. Something like what I remember, only nobody remembers, but I just happen to remember. I don't know. Could it be that when I woke up from this accident, could it be that somewhere, see, my ex and I are Splitsville, as you know, for a long time. I never remarried, and I just never found a man that seemed right for that I felt like I could really, or I met him at the wrong time, at a time when I didn't feel like I could do that. And I have to ask myself, though, does my ex sometimes say, well, she was so different before the accident? I don't know what happened to her, but she was different after that. Maybe he does. Maybe to him, I'm the one who changed. To me, he's the one who changed. Did I change dimensions? Did I slide over into the next version of myself? Did I really die? Did I die and just kind of wake up in another version of me where I lived? I don't know. But I know that all of my loved ones had changed. All of my loved ones had changed. None of them were quite the same. They existed, most of them still existed, but they had changed in subtle ways. That's one of the things that really drove me crazy. Is like, what the hell's going on here? My mother was different. My husband to be was different. My friends were different. Everything was different. Everything. Everything. I don't know what happened, man. I don't know. I don't understand. I know it had to be by contract, though, in order for that to happen. It had to be. It was a contractual. Am I a walk-in? Maybe. Or am I just a different version of myself? Maybe. I've never gotten real clear answers to that. Maybe because we don't know how to ask the questions yet. Yeah. Okay, dear. Well, there's so much more. I could go on for quite a bit, but I don't want to make this 3 hours or something. And be careful when not to park the car in a tree. I know. Don't park the car in a tree next time, you idiot. Put on your damn glasses. I had my glasses on, actually. And you know what? There was another accident too, and it was my ex this time. I swear we should have died in that one too. He was driving my brand new car and totaled his almost totaled it. You know what? And maybe in the other dimension, in another dimension, he totaled it. But and we died. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, I came to that conclusion too. Did everybody else change or did I change? Maybe it was me. Yeah. It's basically what I figured too. I thought, what if it's me? Then I heard about the walk-in idea from Ruth Montgomery. I thought about that and I thought, could I be one of those? Could I be? It was obviously something that could not be avoided. And walk-ins are by contract, and they are an appointment that you can't avoid. If you contracted it, it's going to happen. You're obligated. So, am I who I think I am? Are my memories? And it's funny because in some cases, I have two sets of memories. I have two sets of memories about who raised me. I just thought maybe it was a previous life or something. But what if somebody else did raise me? What if I am not the same person? What if I only have those memories because they come with the body of my mother's family and my father? What if my other mother and father that I know I also had, what if they weren't a past life? What if they were my family of who I am now? And these other people were my body's family. I don't know, man. I'm glad you're okay too, Circle K. So anyway, these are the things that I wonder about some days and can't get a clear answer on. Have never quite gotten a clear answer on most of this. Because the nomenclature of everything keeps changing, we change the jargon. Now they're using the term walk-in in different ways to mean other things, which things that are clearly a possession, not a walk-in situation, but a possession. I really object to that because if I'm certainly not I'm not possessed. That's different. I've seen possessed. It's different. But somebody coming in and borrowing your body once in a while, that's not a walk-in. That's an attachment and a partial possession. You know what, Ghost Magnet? I should write it. Maybe I'd get a little respect and some money. Yeah, why not write a book? Because it'd be a very long book. Either that or I'd have to have lots of books. Well, I guess that's possible too. Maybe I should. I've been thinking about it. For years, I've been threatening to write a book. I wonder who would kill me if I wrote it. If I was really honest, who would die, me or them? You know, I don't know. I have to be very careful about some parts. I love a series, right, right. Okay, you have it. I will start trying to collect my thoughts. And it would be a hell of a book, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would be. It sound like freaking science fiction, though. It would sound like a freaking science fiction novel. I can just see. But plenty of people have done it. You just gotta not care what people think. It's none of my business. Once I write it, it's none of my business anymore. I just told what happened to me from my point of view. Yeah, and I stopped journaling too. Okay, everybody's saying do it. Write the damn book already, girl. All right. I get the message. Write it as a novel, then you can say everything. That's right. Well, yeah, I thought of that too. If I write it as fiction, loosely, based on a real life story, maybe, but it's fiction, yeah, then I might be able to get by with more without dying, without getting killed. Yeah, I suppose. Unless people started remembering it and waking up, and then I could be in trouble. It's like, wait, that sounds real. Wait a minute. Was that could have really happened? I kind of remember something like that myself. Yeah. Well, we'll see what my guides say about it. Yeah. Actually, I did. I was writing it for, you know what? I have to tell you, I did start writing it several times. It disappeared every damn time. Maybe I could get by with it now, finally. But yeah, it disappeared every damn time. And my journals disappeared. It was like something kind of cataclysmic would happen in my life, and my stuff would go out the window, and one way or another, get destroyed, stolen, whatever. I've heard this from many people like me. I mean, I have friends who have had their works just disappear from their homes, or something else happened to them. So that happens too. So I don't know, maybe I might get by with it. Yeah, use a pseudonym. Yeah. Talked about a book. Yeah, could be. Yeah, it could be what writers. You know what? A lot of books that I read that are supposed to be fiction, they come off a lot less like fiction. And I mean, look at Star Trek, look at Star Wars, look at Ghost, look at, I mean, there are a lot of movies that are damn close to the truth. There are a lot of books that are damn close to the truth, damn close. Almost too close to be just random, right? And I'm thinking about that. I guess I could contribute to that body of work and maybe live to tell. It's going to be harder to kill me now. It's harder to kill me now. But I would like some peace in my life. I mean, that's the other side of this. Is if you write something very controversial, you will not have peace in your life. If you make a YouTube that's very controversial, you will not have peace in your life. One of the reasons that I preface this by saying what I say is that this is not serious. This is only tips, tricks, and hacks for the massively multiplayer VR total immersion learning game matrix called Life on Planet Earth, and has nothing to do with real life, which exists outside the matrix. So this has nothing to do with real life. This is just a story. But who knows? It could be real. Actually, I wanted to ask you guys what you think of this. I can do a lot of things with my voice. I'm considering having a channel Not changing this channel any. This channel's still going to do the same thing, but having a channel where I read stories, something like other people have, where I read stories, but I'll do it in a character voice. It might be fun. How do you guys feel about that? Would you like to hear me read stories in a voice like this? And then make up other voices for the other characters. Would that be fun? Yeah, I thought it might be fun. Let's do that too. Yeah, use a pseudonym and a VPN. Ah, you can't write anymore. That sucks. Yeah. Well, Ghost Magnet, you can but try. Oh, you would love that. Okay, well, hi, Wagon. It's about time you showed up, girl. There's another one. It's about time you showed up, girl. Where in the hell have you been? Bitch. And those people use other voices. Yeah, I was thinking of that. I was thinking I do have that kind of a voice where I can actually do a much deeper voice, and I can do scary voices, and I can do silly voices, and I can do all kinds of voices. That would be kind of fun, really. I don't know. Where do you guys know where you get stories for that? Where do people legally do, I want to know the legal ramifications. Does anybody know that? How do you get stories? Can you just pick any story? Do you have to get permission? What do you have to do in order to do that? Are there rules about it that you have to go by? Can you just use any old thing you come across or that you like? Or do you have to get somebody's permission to read a story? Oh, Portland, Oregon. Oh, I love Oregon. I'm not sure I like all the people and the politics in Oregon right now, but I love Oregon. November 3rd. What's November 3rd, Bomber? Look at YT guidelines, YouTube guidelines. Yeah. Well, I don't want to get in legal trouble. Wagon, do you know anything about it? We gotta talk, sister. You and me, we gotta talk. November 3rd? Oh, your birthday, your B-day. No, not your B-day. Your B-day. The day you be. The day you first be. It was on November 3rd. It was the day that I first came to be. It was my B-day. Not my B-day, but my B-day. Birthday. Yeah, you were the one that was going to tell me all about voice acting. We never got to have our chat. We never got to have our chat. I think we need to have a chat. Don't you think we need to have it? I think that you and I should get together sometime and have a really long talk about all of this stuff that we've been trying to talk about for all this time. Public domain stories. How would one find that? Yes. I know my sense of humor is in the crapper tonight, huh? The bidet. Not your bidet, but your bidet. Not your bidet, but I could go on. Oh, and I probably will. I could go on. Yes. I could go on and on. I'm thinking of even having a character and maybe calling it Stories from the Bog or something. Tales from the Bog. Ah, the wind whistling and the thunder cracking in the background, and tales from the bog. Eh, and if they're boring, write your own. Yeah, that'd be great for Halloween too. Get it, bring it up right around Halloween. Tales from the bog. And the organ going, and the singers in the back. That would be funny. That would be fun. We got to do that. Then I can have guest readers on once in a while, guest voices. But I got to get the right setting. It would not be me. You wouldn't be looking at me. You'd be listening to my voice. The way that I'm conceptualizing it is you have a scene that people are looking at with a candle burning or a fireplace burning or a witch burning or no, not a witch burning. Let's not do that. Or dinner burning, I don't know, or but no, a candle would be good and and you have different kind of spooky looking things around and welcome to Tales from the Bog. Yes. Public something. Okay. Public something. Okay, Ghost Magnet. Which kind of southern accent do you have? Because I got a lot of. We could do some kind of skit once in a while, too. I got this one. It's kind of relaxed. But I've also got this one, and this one's a little different. And of course, I also got this one. This one is a Southern Belle. Then I got my New Orleans and my Slidell. Slidell's different from New Orleans. In Slidell, they call it New Orleans. New Orleans. Can you imagine calling it New Orleans? It's New Orleans. Texan. Cool. Cowboy would probably. No, I don't know. He just took to being called cowboy. I just looked at him when I first got him and saw the cow spots, and I said, "Well, you better get up here, cowboy, and get yourself a belly rub." And he came right up, turned over, offered his little white, fluffy Manx Mellow belly up, and let me pet it, and we've been in love ever since. Mm-hmm. No, no. And the people in New Orleans put a little Y in there, just a little Y. New Orleans. But the people in Slidell is New Orleans. They're more New They call it New Orleans. And and then other people, it's more of a Nolans. Nolans. I was down there for a while. Scritches to Cowboy. He absolutely. He's been here every minute. He's just resting. He's just resting his eyes. He's not really sleeping. He's resting his eyes, waiting for me to pet his belly. Yawlins. Okay, I will tell him it came from you, Bomber. And I'll pet his belly a few times. Anybody want me to rub his belly a few times? Oh, he's purring. You're such a sweet little man. You are. You're a sweet little guy in a cat's body. Yeah, you are. That's another story. Hmm. He loves everybody. He's a pretty loving little guy. Sometimes he's kind of scared. He's kind of a scaredy cat, though. Sometimes he hides in his cat cave under the bed. where nobody can get him. Yeah, he likes it under there. It's nice and cool and dark. He's got a lair down there, don't you? Kitty cat lair. The cat cave. Detachable roofs, retractable roofs. Detractable. Is that detachable, retractable combo word? My ex was really good at making up words. He couldn't figure out which word he really wanted to use, and so he just like smush words together and make entirely new words. Actually, it was one of his best talents. I do have to say, there were things that made me fall in love with him that uh, that I loved about him, and I wish it had gone differently, but it went the way it had to go, I guess. Okay, roll down the roof. Okay, Birdie, a new toy today. Car Birdie, and some fresh nip. Oh, your cat, Birdie, a new toy. Fresh nip. I bet she is. Yeah, I was wondering. Getting your car catnip. It didn't make sense. Fortunately, I read fluent typo. Mashed potato sentences drizzled in melted butter slang. That's pretty much a southern accent right there. And in New Orleans, it's a little spicy. It's a little spicy in New Orleans. They gotta have it a little spicy. That's right. Retractable. A retractable. I mean, a retraction is something you say when you say, I didn't say that, like the president, how he didn't say what he said in the speech. I didn't say that. That's a retraction, maybe. I think. I think that's what a retraction is. But a retractable roof, yeah. Detachable yeah, 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 yeah. That would be cool. We gotta add that. Hmm. You guys are a lot of fun, really. I love being with you guys. It's you're so creative. Your your thought processes. Actually, I feel like I can talk to you, even though I know anybody could be watching this. At least you guys kind of understand what I'm talking about, which is the only reason I can do this show the way I do it. I mean, God, I'm doing it with a freaking telephone. I'm doing it from a telephone. This is my bedroom. I can't do it in the living room because a bunch of stuff fell down and blocked my way and I have to pick it all up and I didn't have time. I I'm on such a shoestring. I don't even know if you would call it a shoestring that I'm doing this whole thing on. I mean, it's so, but I have been pretty consistent. I you got to admit, I have been every Monday, every Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday for a long time now. I've been on. Sometimes I've been telling you I'm coming in a little late, like today. Today, I really had to get myself prepared mentally to come in to tell this story because it's personal. There's a lot of personal stuff in there. And I just, I knew I was going to need some more time. You know, I had come in and I had said, oh, I need some rest. And I thought, I need some time. So just take the roof off. Take the roof off. Turning creepers into weepers. Well, I love you guys too. So it's a mutual admiration society. And y'all a bunch of weirdos, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Yeah, a bunch of weirdos. But yeah, I was always a weirdo growing up. Like I said, I was the weird kid. I gotta say though, when I was in what grade was it? It was grade 11. I came in that year. I decided it was all going to turn around. I was going to see, it was like an experiment, like a scientific experiment. I am not kidding. Psychology experiment. I was interested in psychology and probably could have been a really good psychologist if I'd decided to pursue that field. But my family didn't want me to do that because they were afraid I'd find out how freaking screwed up they were and maybe try to analyze them. But my family wouldn't let me pursue that. But probably I would be rich today because there are enough nutballs in Kent that I would have be sitting on a pile of money. I would be basically busy all the time, listening to people tell their weird stories, just like I do now for free. It's all groovy, Dee. It's all groovy, Dee. Don't worry, we can handle it. You're darn tootin' right, Wagon. You know what we gotta do something about, Wagon? We gotta do something about all of these fake people. What do you think? I keep the shotgun by the door. Am I convincing? Yeah. That's it. Acting is next. I'll go from voice acting to real acting. You guys are a lot of fun. Yeah, it's time for me too to kind of sign off because we've been on 2.5 hours already. Oh my gosh. 2.5 hours. But it flew by. Okay, I love you guys. Remember, the truth is where you find it. Hope you're finding some on my channel. Hope I'm helping somebody somewhere. And I hope you're learning something, sometimes, at least. And remember, you are divine. You're creators. So create wisely. And see you next time. See you around the ranch.